20% significant increase has been suggested in Pakistan's defense budget.
This increase in defense budget is highly justifiable. Pakistan is facing an aggressive neighbor which has a defense budget of $80 billion.
In the current budget, 2025-26, a significant portion has been fixed for paying the foreign debts. So how we can get rid of the foreign debts? If there is any shortcut, long-term?
Increasing our revenue, increasing our exports, and of course, reducing all non-developmental expenditure. I think that's the key.
Agriculture sector suffered a lot in outgoing financial year. Agriculture is lifeline, water is lifeline, but there is no attention on these two things.
Water is an emergency. It's not business as usual. So after this, India's unilateral announcement of holding Indus Water Treaty in abeyance, so we need to build more dams and at an emergency basis, not as business as usual.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Hello and welcome to program Inside in V News English. Dear viewers, our today's conversation is again focused on Pakistan's federal budget 2025-2025-6, which has been presented amid very tight economic situation. So some of the targets have been fixed, and it is expected that government may achieve these targets, including a very significant 10% increase through FBR tax revenue. Government is also hoping to have cash flow from recording, and there are a number of other resources. And the target of the economic growth has been fixed as 4.2%. So Pakistan's government employees has also been assured that there will be 10% increase in their salaries. But if you look into the all aspects and the elements of the budget, it gives a very little relief to common person. Although different tax slabs for common person, for salaried class has been reduced, but overall it is analyzed as one of the most tough budget. So to discuss this all, we are fortunate to have with us senior economist Dr. Qaiyum Suleri. Dr. Suleri is also part of the several committees, consultative economic councils under Pakistan's government. He also heads Sustainable Development Policy Institute and extensively involves in economic consultations with different stakeholders, particularly with State of Pakistan. Dr. Qaiyum Suleri, sir, very warm welcome to program Inside in V News English.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure. So, as I said, that amid very tight economic situation, Pakistan's federal budget has been presented. 10% increase in FBR tax revenue, which is what government is hoping, and growth targets has been fixed as 4.2. But another important thing is, of course, when Pakistan talks about achieving sustainable development goals, education is one of the key sectors. But in higher education, a massive cut has been recommended in the budget. So if there is decrease from the federal allocation for higher education, how we will be able to educate our nation at a time at the lower level when 2.5 crore children are out of school. That is about the primary education, but higher education budget has been also reduced. Dr. Suleri Saab, don't you think there will be massive impact on education sector, which is vital for economic development?
To begin with, let me say that I was expecting even a harsher budget. I think this budget is better than even a harsher budget. But this budget is better than my expectations. And the reason is government fortunately managed to capitalize upon this reduction in State Bank's policy rate that got reduced from 22% to 11%, and government's domestic debt servicing that got reduced, and this provided it some sort of cushion to provide some a symbolic relief to the salaried class in terms of taxation, or increasing the pays and pension of government officials, as well as giving some stimulus to purchasers of real estate, and not taxing the fertilizer and pesticides. So these are the three important areas where government was able to actually use this breathing cushion. Now, coming to education, we know that education is primarily provincial subject. You mentioned of higher education. Higher education is, of course, of utmost importance. But now, when provinces, they have got their own higher education department and provincial higher education commissions, the influence and role of Federal Higher Education Commission and the funding mandate, that is now getting shrunk. And I think it is within that shrunk mandate, the government decided to reduce the allocation for federal HEC. Although I agree with the point that you made that we must invest more and more on education at all levels, primary, secondary, and tertiary levels, so that we can invest in our future generation and future leaders.
Dr. Abid, just 2 days before, a day before federal budget, Economic Survey of Pakistan was also released. And if you look into the Economic Survey of Pakistan, one of the key economic targets were missed. So why it is so that we miss so many economic targets despite having all natural resources, all sort of expertise, best human resource, best strategies and everything? So why we are in negative economic indicators as far as economic development is concerned?
Well, the two sectors that failed very sharply, agriculture and large-scale manufacturing. Agriculture, apart from climate change, which is affecting and hitting the crop productivity and the yield, the second major factor was good policy implemented in a flawed manner. I'm talking of withdrawal of wheat export prices. I think the timing of withdrawal of wheat export prices was not right. When the wheat was ready for harvesting and farmer was looking forward to sell it, at that time, withdrawing from an announced wheat export price mechanism actually hit badly to not only to the farmer's profit margin, but also on its saving, and resultantly they were not able to invest for inputs for cotton and rice and maize and sugarcane, and resultantly it was a vicious cycle that started from wheat, the major rabi crop, and it affected all the kharif crops badly. So that was why we couldn't achieve our agriculture sector target. On large-scale manufacturing, there were three factors. One was very high interest rate for a long period of time, 22% policy rate, although towards last few months, the interest rate is now 11%, but exposed to such a high policy rate, that was the first strangling factor for large-scale manufacturing. Second is high tax rate, 45% tax rate, and third is energy prices, which are far higher than the region. And I think these three factors, they contributed in the dismal performance of large-scale manufacturing.
Dr. Suleri Saab, as far as cash flow expectation is concerned, government is eyeing that there will be $7 billion expected cash flow through taxes, and $8 billion is expected through royalties from Recordec. So how hopeful you are that approximately 2-3 months back, Pakistan also hosted a global investment forum in Islamabad focusing on mineral sector. We are hoping so much from mineral sector, and particularly as in the present budget, it is expected that through royalties, Pakistan is expected to get $8 billion. When we will be able to get some money from Recode?
Well, that depends how soon and how quickly we can
Start the
normalize
exploration, exactly.
normalize the on-ground situation in Balochistan. Our armed forces, they are sacrificing the precious lives. They are trying to curb these external terrorist elements, this Indian-sponsored and other external
Fitna Hindustan, exactly.
terrorist organizations. Now, as soon as we can normalize the situation on ground, I think the Recodec would be on move. But one would have to see that physical security issues and access issues, how quickly they get resolved.
So you might have heard, since you watched the budget very closely, 20% significant increase has been suggested in Pakistan's defense budget, and that increase comes exactly a month after. So at a time when Pakistan and India had a very severe conflict, and that conflict, there was a missile attacks, there was an air war, there was, of course,
I think that's this increase in defense budget is highly justifiable. Pakistan is facing an aggressive neighbor which has a defense budget of $80 billion, which is almost 10 times higher than our budget. Now, within that context, I think this 17% increase in our budget is quite justified. And frankly speaking, with the fitting response to India, armed forces, they have justified and they have silenced all critics who used to criticize the defense spending in Pakistan.
Dr. Saab, we have been interacting with you a couple of times even in the past, and we regularly discuss this austerity, right sizing. So huge money and allocation of the budget goes on non-development expenditure, particularly on different type of unnecessary government expenditures, protocols to the cabinet, to the ministers, and things like that. So how we can control these things, this particular expenditure that could be diverted to health and education sector by cutting down, by introducing austerity, right sizing. So will these two terms, right sizing and austerity, will remain only in papers and will never be visible?
I think Finance Minister is quite vocal about right sizing and restructuring. Let's see
Exactly.
how it unfolds. Many of the things which are on IMF radar, they are getting addressed. So rest assured, if we are in two programs, the scrutiny would be double, and many of these things, they would automatically get addressed, irrespective of the fact if the policymakers, they want it or not.
Props up, this continuous borrowing from international institution is a huge burden on the economy. In the current budget, 2025-26, a significant portion has been fixed for paying the foreign debts. So how we can get rid of the foreign debts? If there is any shortcut, long-term economic solution, although the economic growth has
reducing our expenditure, which are already reduced compared to the last year's budget. There's a reduction of 1.3 trillion rupees, increasing our revenue, increasing our exports, and of course, reducing all non-developmental expenditure. I think that's the key. Unfortunately, the revenue that we collect is barely enough to meet the debt service and interest payment. And then, of course, all other expenditures, we have to borrow more every year to meet our expenses. And the only way to get out of this vicious cycle is to bring our house in order.
Dr. Saab, no one is happy, from common man, salaried class, business people, business tycoon, as far as taxes collection is concerned. And government is continuously talking about a tax reform system, which is still in progress. So what do you think, how this issue could be tackled, tax reforms? so that only
We
the
have
rich
to
and the elite could
we
be
have to
taxed.
document our economy. We have to go towards digitalization, and we have to bring informal sector into formal economy sector. Already in this budget, initial attempts have been made. Now let's see that how quickly government can capitalize upon it.
Dr. Saab, despite these all economic indicators and claims by the government that there is economic stability, Pakistan is at a takeoff position, but World Bank report still says that 44 to 45% of the population is below poverty line in Pakistan. So how government can tackle this growing poverty?
Well, of course, the social justice and distributive justice, although there is an increase of sizable increase in BISP allocation, 716 billion rupees. But one thing that I found lacking in the budget is the minimum wages. The minimum wages need to be increased so that private sector can follow it as a benchmark. And the current minimum wages, they are exactly equivalent to what the World Bank has quoted as its poverty line. So everyone who are earning minimum wage, they are actually living below poverty line in Pakistan.
So, Dr. Saab, as far as government jobs are concerned, the minister has already made it clear that there will be no more government jobs. Government is introducing austerity. But then how it will be possible for millions of youth across Pakistan, in Sindh, in Balochistan, in KP, in Punjab, GB Azad, Jammu and Kashmir, how the youth will be able to get the government jobs. But if there are no jobs, there will be definitely desperation among youth, and private sector can't accommodate all the educated, skilled youth. So job crisis.
The key word here is entrepreneurship. The key word is we need to update our curriculum. We need to produce graduates and postgraduates who earn market demand degrees, not the conventional and traditional bachelors in sciences and bachelors in business administration, etc. I think the current job market requirement are totally different, and we need to shift towards it so that we can give employment to our youth.
Now, Dr. Saab, a lot is being said about information technology sector. As I said earlier, from minerals, a lot of hopes are on IT sector, because in last 6 months, Pakistan got significant income from IT exports. Are you satisfied with some of the measures taken for promotion of IT sector in Pakistan?
Certainly not. We need to reduce duty on mobile phones and computers and gadgets. These are not items of luxury. These are the items which would provide jobs and which will provide skill to our unemployed youth. So we have to focus on it, and I couldn't see any amount that Pakistan would be receiving by auctioning 5G spectrum. I think we need to move toward 5G if we have to promote IT in this country.
Dr. Saab, as just recalling your own remarks and my question as well regarding export, but in economic survey, we missed key economic indicators, including, of course, large-scale manufacturers. They could not make it. So in that situation, how we will be able to give boost to exports? Exports are vital for economic stability.
Well, energy is the key, affordable and reliable energy. And the current policy of putting tax on imported solar panel, I think that would backfire both in terms of our green energy and climate action ambitions, as well as containing circular debt and capacity payment charges. All those who have got solar panel, majority of them, they will also install their own batteries, and they will reduce their reliance on the grid electricity, which will lead to an increased capacity payment charges. And industries, I think, in order to survive, they will also move towards this captive solar energy. And I think this is the way forward.
Although, as you said, and as per budget documents, certain taxes have been removed from pesticide and agriculture related, particularly pesticides and other chemical items. So, but despite that, as you also mentioned, that agriculture sector suffered a lot in outgoing financial year. Agriculture is lifeline, water is lifeline, but there is no attention on these two things.
Federal government should have provided some sort of policy framework. These are provincial subjects. I know that provinces have to deal with it. But water is an emergency. It's not business as usual. So after this, India's unilateral announcement of holding Indus Water Treaty in abeyance, so we need to build more dams and at an emergency basis, not as business as usual, which would take decades. And second, agriculture, there must be a policy framework that can motivate the provinces to revive our agriculture.
Lots of lot is being said, and there is a lot of hopes on foreign remittances. Although we do get foreign remittances mainly from the Gulf countries, which is the highest bracket, but there are less incentives for overseas Pakistanis. Although our remittances are higher than the earning of the exports. So your comments about only our reliance on foreign remittances sent by overseas Pakistanis.
We need to build capacity of our unemployed people, whether they are educated or not. Even in Middle East and other countries, there is no room for unskilled manual labor anymore. We need to send more skilled people to Middle Eastern countries so that they can be a good earning hand for the country. And many countries like Philippines and Bangladesh and others, they are actually relying it as a strategy to boost their foreign exchange reserves.
Dr. over last many governments that you have also witnessed, and many finance ministers in all successive governments, you and we have been listening that there are economic reforms process. When this economic reform process will finally be completed and country will witness its results?
My only worry is that this very needed process would actually get executed in a very bad manner whenever it happens, and that would be under IMF limitations. I think the cushion that we have got now with some breathing space and macroeconomic stability, we should do it on a voluntarily basis rather than waiting for IMF to take very strict measure and force us to take all these reforms, which are much needed. But in executing those reforms under IMF pressure, the collateral damage can be quite high.
Dr. This week, Pakistan and United States are expected to hold trade talks. A high-level Pakistani trade delegation is expected to arrive this week in Washington. So what are the hopes as far as talks between Pakistan and United States are concerned? What things should be kept in mind by Pakistani delegation while negotiating these tariffs between Pakistan and United States? A couple of months back, when the US president finally imposed tariffs.
It's not only tariffs. It is also about para-tariffs. US will be discussing about the GM soybean, which faced many problems in the previous years. US will be discussing about PEPRA rules. US will be discussing about monopoly of National Insurance Commission. US will be discussing about the problems that its multinational faced in repatriating its dividends. So it's not only tariff, it would be para-tariff, and Pakistan will have to give cushion to United States in order to remain in good books of President Trump. There is no way we can not comply with the US wish list.
We were expecting to get significant assistance from the donors to address climate change concerns and calamities in Pakistan, but we did not get, of course, even pledges made by some of the leading countries of the world. And climate change is one of the hottest issue in Pakistan that has effect and impact almost in every sector. A little portion has been fixed to address climate change.
Once this second IMF program on climate change starts, you will hear climate change everywhere in Pakistan. It would be on revenue side, it will be on expenditure side. We have to pass the reviews of IMF on climate change. So even though if till today, and with this 18% tax on solar panels, we are not proving to be very climate friendly. But I can assure you that once we start getting this ball rolling on climate change loan of IMF, this thing would automatically be taken care of.
Any possibility that during the parliamentary debate and at the end of the debate, before the legislative process starts, which is called the finance bill, that there is any expectation that the parliamentarians may make hue and cry on this huge imposition of tax on solar panel? Government may withdraw. Any hopes?
That would depend whether we can make a convincing case for IMF on containing capacity payment charges or not. The only alternative is to...
This is also done in line with the IMF patient.
You see, the only alternative is to reduce the price and tariff of grid electricity so that people, they can consume more and government don't have to pay capacity payment charges through subsidy.
Dr. Saab, finally, you have been watching, monitoring, analyzing economy of the regional countries and several other states, foreign direct investment. Smaller countries than Pakistan got foreign direct investment. They built their capacities and things like that, and that is visible. Despite saying that Pakistan's climate is quite conducive.
Prerequisite is policy consistency. No investment come to any country where policies they get changed overnight, and Pakistan is not an exception. If we can prove that we have a medium to long framework for investors and they can come and they would be getting whatever the government promises with them, and it will not get changed under any dictation, whether it is IMF or other investor would start coming in. But if that's not the case, my hope on foreign direct investment would remain bleak.
What are your hopes about Pakistan's future as a regional connectivity hub? Recently, when Deputy Prime Minister of Pakistan visited China, China agreed to fund Pakistan, Afghanistan, Turkmenistan rail network and also a motorway connecting.
That depends on our relations with Afghanistan and stability in Afghanistan.
So how you see this growing connectivity? Do you think that...
I'm optimistic. I hope it happens, but it will take time before we can bridge the trust deficit between Pakistan and Afghanistan.
Last, only quick, that what is way forward to achieve economic stability, growth, which is meant for everything, for good...
Right now, we should not offend IMF. That is the only and the last resort for microeconomic stability. For next couple of years, let's forget about GDP growth and just focus on macroeconomic stability so that we can capitalize upon it and we can then roll out whatever the plans are. If at this juncture, IMF program got suspended, we will be nowhere.
We will be nowhere?
Yes.
How? Just one sentence.
27-28 fiscal year, we have to arrange for $37 billion of external financing. That can never happen without an IMF umbrella.
And this is what mineral sector, $6 trillion expectation.
One is very optimistic, and I hope that everything materializes. But till those things materializes, we cannot leave IMF.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dr. Abid Qaiyum Suleri Saab. And the conclusion is, if Pakistan gets rid of IMF programs, achieve economic stability, then we will be able to stabilize our economy. Focus has to be given on exports. Focus has to be given on tax reforms, economic reforms, etc. That is only way forward to achieve economic stability. Dear viewers, till our next program, goodbye and Khuda Hafiz from studios.